Marta Anderton. I'm the 612 ELA Professional Learning Specialist for Cobb County, and today I am so excited to be talking to middle and high school students about creating an argument. I know that this is a skill that will come in handy, especially as you're in your teen years and in the business world and in your jobs, just in all your relationships. It's a great skill to have. So let's get started. First of all, we want to define what an argument is, because a lot of times when we think of the word argument, we think of maybe a heated discussion or a fist fight even, but that's not what we're talking about in academics. We're talking here about a rhetorical argument, about an argument that's a claim that really is making a strong statement about something that you feel passionately about as a writer or a speaker, and then how you're going to support that with evidence that's going to help convince your audience even further. And these arguments can be all around us. For instance, we're here in quarantine for COVID-19, and I just went through my house and found so many arguments like that. If you are an older brother or sister and have those younger siblings, maybe you're reading a bedtime story to them and you're thinking about, you can look for arguments there. So for instance, this book, Mercer Mayer, Just Go to Bed, is by Mercer Mayer. And in this book, the little critter tries to convince his dad of all the reasons why he shouldn't have to go to bed on time. Or The Best Nest by P.D. Eastman is a great story about a married couple who's just trying to find the right house for their growing family, and they can't agree on it. For older readers, for yourself, Twinkie Deconstructed is a great nonfiction book about all the additives and chemicals that go into our unfortunately favorite junk food, and how we need to really consider what we put into our bodies. And so this is a great argument that the author writes, and you could read and see if you agreed with him. I know during this time on your TVs, you've probably seen this man, Dr. Anthony Fauci, at some point or another, who's really trying to make his argument about how we can best fight and survive and thrive during COVID-19. And you can see if his arguments hold up, if they really seem sound to you, or if sometimes they might even be flimsy. So you can decide that as a critical thinker, and that's the beauty of being a critical thinker. So we're going to talk today about how to formulate, create, and organize your own effective argument. And really, this starts out with the brainstorming process. I know a lot of students love to go straight to the writing. They have so many ideas, they just want to write them down. Or maybe we don't have that many ideas and we just want to get started and finished. But the best way to make an effective, strong argument is really to brainstorm first, write your ideas down, and then write a draft, not the other way around. Sometimes you'll know you need to brainstorm and do an outline if you have started writing and you've run out of things to say pretty fast, or if you can't figure out a way to elaborate. That's a clear sign to you that you need to go back and brainstorm and do some kind of outline, graphic organizer, planning document. So we're going to look at ours here, and I'm going to model this for you. One of the first things that you need to do in deciding an argument is what topic you're going to discuss. And it's a lot easier if it's a topic that is near and dear to your own heart. Sometimes it's hard when we are writing to a prompt that a teacher's given us that maybe doesn't really strike our interest. We're not engaged with that, or maybe we are trying to get ready for a standardized exam and we're having to write a claim and it's not something we feel strongly about. Those types of writings do have to happen in academics. You do have to write at times about topics you're not that passionate about. But for today, we get to write about any topic that is really strongly connected to your heart and to your mind right now. So be thinking about a topic. I'm going to think about one for me, and I'm going to brainstorm using my sheet here. This is an organizer that helps me keep organized, but you can use whatever works for you. And the topic, I'm going to think, here's our genre argument. I'm thinking something I feel strongly about is actually social media, and I think I feel strongly that should be limited to somebody who is 16 and over as far as access. I know that's very unpopular opinion, so that might be a polarizing topic for you, which is great, because you want to pick a topic that makes people feel strongly one way or the other, either for or against it. So I'm just going to write on here that social media should be limited to 16 and older. And I'm just going to put my little notes here for myself, because this is just a note chart. I can write it any way that makes sense to me as a writer and a thinker. So next, after I've come up with my topic, I'm going to really just think about that for a minute. Make sure it's a strong one. And I'm going to give you just a second to stop and think for yourself and jot down some argument ideas, that maybe ones that you've just seen around you that you can identify, or even better, if you can go ahead and come up with your own topic for right now. And you're just going to write it down on a piece of paper. Maybe you have 2 or 3 ideas. And then also go ahead and decide who you think the best audience would be. I know for me, mine is probably, I could address my argument towards app manufacturers or lawmakers or students, but I have a little bit of experience as a parent in this issue, so I'm going to address my argument towards parents, and I'm going to be thinking about them in mind because I feel strongly about this because of my own kids. So that's where my area of expertise is coming from. I feel like I can make a stronger argument that way. So as you're thinking of your own topic, think about a topic you feel strongly about, and also think about who might be the best audience. And we're going to just put a few minutes on the clock and let you start. Okay, great. Now that you've had a chance to identify a topic and consider a possible audience, we're going to move into how we can support this argument. So for me, reasons and supporting examples for this, I know personally that some of the reasons that I'm interested in this is I feel like social media is too distracting. I also know, I feel like it takes up too much time, so I'm going to put on here time consuming. I also think that sometimes it can foster some comparisons, some unhealthy comparisons, lifestyle comparisons. So I'm going to put that, and then the last thing I'm going to put is I feel like sometimes it's maybe some inappropriate for age at times. Okay, so there's my reasons. I've got 4, so I could keep all of those. I could eliminate some. I could add some more later, but that's just my brainstorming for right now. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes to go through and find some supporting evidence and reasons and facts for your own argument. So now that you've had a chance to think about some supporting reasons and some really strong evidence to support your argument, the next thing you can do is write a thesis statement. And that thesis statement is super important. It's going to tell your reader the whole thrust of your message in your paper. So let's see if we can take this and write a thesis statement from it. I am going to, remember in your thesis you want to say you're for or against it, because we don't want to be wishy-washy. We want to make a strong statement. So I'm going to say social media should be limited to age 16 and up, because, and I could go through and list these now, I could paraphrase them, or I could just sum up with a word. So because its disadvantages outweigh the advantages. Now, I already know that that's not my favorite sentence that I've ever written. I'm just writing it here on the fly, so I'm going to probably go back and revise that. So whatever you write now, you're just trying to get an idea down on paper. So I'm going to give you just a minute to write your own thesis statement. Okay, so now that you've come up with a thesis statement draft, the next part of our outline here is deciding on some counter arguments. You're trying to anticipate some of the opposition and what people might say. So I already know that for my topic of social media being limited to age 16, that probably someone's going to say that it's not fair. I'm trying to think of other things people might say, like it won't fit in, possibly, so we'll have to stand out. Something else somebody might say is, I need this social media so that I can stay connected. It's a great communication tool, communication tool, socially So there are several things that I can anticipate that people are going to say are reasons why they should be able to be on social media before the age of 16. I would need to actually think about it a little bit longer as far as what some other people might say, but I'm going to give you just a few minutes to see if you can come up with some counter arguments for your thesis statement. So now that you've considered your opposition and what they might say and how you can provide a rebuttal for that, go ahead and download your blank graphic organizer if you haven't already, and you're going to fill this out based on your notes that you've taken for yourself. So this just gives you a little bit more structure for your argument, and you can take it from there. You'll be ready to write your draft after this. For those of you who would like a little bit more extension to watch a student do this, I'm going to give you a short video to recap what we've talked about today.
Your teacher has asked you to write an argumentative essay. From thousands of potential topics, you've narrowed down the list to one concise thesis statement. An argumentative essay should be structured with an introduction, body, and conclusion. The first paragraph is the introduction. This is where you'll introduce the reader to your topic and your thesis statement. The middle paragraphs make up the body. This is where you'll give details and evidence to support your thesis statement. The last paragraph of the essay is the conclusion. This is where you'll sum up your argument and restate your thesis statement. Let's examine starting with the introduction. Entice your readers with a hook or catchy intro that will capture their attention and make them care about the topic. Make it engaging, but also grounded in facts. For example, have you ever heard of cabbage that produces scorpion venom? What about a banana that acts as a vaccine for hepatitis B? After you have caught the reader's attention, then you can introduce your topic. Now that you've set the stage, you can present your thesis statement. That leads readers into the body of the essay. Use this graphic organizer to help you plan your introduction. Think about how to introduce the topic and how to grab the reader's attention while doing so. After the introduction come the body paragraphs. This section is where you'll present or cite evidence to convince the reader of your argument. Use this graphic organizer to help plan each paragraph. Each body paragraph should include a topic sentence that explains what the paragraph is about. The topic sentence should support your thesis statement. Next, cite evidence from your research that elaborates on the topic of the paragraph and supports the thesis. Include a brief quote or a statement of information from one of your resources. Use a sentence starter such as, "The article states," or "according to." Be sure to include your source. Then paraphrase the quote in your own words to tell the reader what it means and why it is important. You can use a sentence starter such as, "This shows that," or "This is important because." Follow this structure for each body paragraph. When you move from one body paragraph to the next, be sure to include a transition that leads the reader into the next idea. After you have finished all the body paragraphs, wrap things up with a conclusion. This is where you summarize main points and make a final statement to wrap up the argument. First, the conclusion should provide a summary of the claims and arguments you discussed in the body of the essay. It should not present new information. The conclusion should also present a brief and clearly written final statement on the topic. The final statement of an argumentative essay may include a call to action, which explains what you think needs to be done.
So hopefully that video helped you see another example and helped solidify the way that an argument can be constructed for you. So just as a recap, we want to remember that brainstorming is key, and we always want to consider our audience when we're making an argument. That thesis statement is going to drive our whole paper, and we want to really support our topic and our stance with facts and evidence that are really logical and would convince the audience that we're trying to convince. Now you're ready to hook your reader in and start your draft. As you're going about your daily lives, be sure and remember to look for those arguments that are all around us. You can find them everywhere. And as you look for them and find them, remember to evaluate their strengths and their weaknesses because you are a critical thinker. Thank you.